we have a school bus full of kids and a wheel falls off and the school bus crashes and it hurts a bunch of kids, we would never just put that school bus in a garage, not fix the wheel, wait 5 years, pull it out with the same wonky wheel, load it full of students again, and hope for a different outcome. No, we would be a fool, and we could not be surprised when it crashes and hurts everyone again. We have to take that bus, we got to take it to the shop, and we got to fix the wheel. And then load it as full as you want, because we fixed the issue, so we don't have to worry about it when it's out on the streets, when it's out in society. So taking a human that has mental health issues, has substance abuse issues, and throwing them in a cage for 4 or 5 years or whatever length of time, and releasing them and expecting them to be different is shame on us.
It's The Journey with drug and alcohol attorney Mark G. Astor.
Welcome to The Journey with Mark Astor. I'm your host, Mark Astor. I've spent a lot of years sitting across the table from people during some of the most challenging moments of their lives. As an attorney, an advocate, and as someone who understands that the road isn't always straight. What I've learned is that success, recovery, and growth rarely look the way we expect them to. There are detours, hard conversations, and moments that change everything. On this podcast, I talk with people who are willing to be honest about their journey, what worked, what didn't, and what they wish they knew sooner. So I'm really excited to have as our next guest a kick-ass criminal defense lawyer, my new friend Shannon Roy. How are you, Shannon?
I'm well, Mark. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. So let me tell you a little bit about Shannon. Since opening her own firm, Shannon has provided quality representation for clients whose liberty is on the line. She spent her entire career building a recognized reputation for positive results. Prior to opening her firm, she spent more than 5 years at a Denver law firm whose focus was on criminal defense, zealously advocating for clients who were charged with various crimes ranging from misdemeanors such as driving under the influence and third-degree assault to serious felony charges like kidnapping and first-degree murder. She's got extensive trial experience and has conducted trials for individuals charged with assault, sexual assault, theft, and first-degree murder, to name just a few. She knows that an aggressive approach is necessary when results matter. Her aggressive approach has led to many cases being dismissed prior to trial, such as kidnapping and felony drug possession. She's been named as a top 100 trial lawyer in the field of criminal defense in 2016 through 2025, and top 40 under 40 criminal defense lawyers in 2017 through 2025. She's also been recognized by the American Institute of Criminal Law Attorneys for top 10 attorneys for client satisfaction and Super Lawyer Rising Star. She's a current member of the Denver Bar Association, Colorado Criminal Defense Bar, National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, National Trial Lawyers Association, and the Colorado Trial Lawyers Association. She's licensed to practice in Colorado and the United States District Court for the District of Colorado. My apologies, it's been a really long day. In any event, and you were in court for a good chunk of the morning, right? There's nothing worse than a Monday morning court docket in the criminal arena.
I'm telling you, it's been a Monday, and it's not even halfway over.
So I want to know something. When I was prosecutor, and even when I did defense work, Monday mornings were always hectic, especially even in felony court, but misdemeanor court was even worse. I mean, they were out, the courtroom was packed, the jury box was packed with inmates, and they were outside of the courtroom. Is that what it's like in Denver?
It's still like that. The state has so many different jurisdictions, right? And then every courthouse has between 4 and 5 floors. Every floor has 5 to 6 courtrooms, and every courtroom is seeing that day over 100 people. So it's absolute madness. I was trying to talk to one of my clients in the hallway, and they're like, can you move? Because they're lining up 100 jurors that is about to go into the courtroom next to us to start a jury trial. And I was like, this is just absolute madness. Like, I haven't had enough coffee for this yet.
So how many years have you been practicing, Shannon?
Just a little over 15.
Okay. And all in the criminal defense arena?
Yes.
Okay. Which is why you are a specialist. And I keep telling clients, you want a specialist.
You do. I tell people all the time, I can pull your tooth out, but I promise you're going to want a dentist to do it, right? So you don't do it yourself. If you think an attorney is too expensive, try to do it yourself first, and then you're going to pay double for them to fix it and do it the right way.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying that because it can be frustrating for us lawyers when a client says, "Well, I spoke to my family lawyer and he can do it for half the price." Yeah, but I've been doing this a long time, and how long's he been doing it? Well, it's his first case, but he's half the money. Okay, call me when he drops the ball. You
Exactly. Or
know,
he does taxes. That's great. I've been an attorney for 15 years. And I tell people I have a really dear friend who's a tax attorney. And she's, I don't know how you could do that. If somebody called and said, I need to talk to you, I've murdered someone, I'm like, listen, I would take that call all day long. But if you buzz me and you say the IRS is on line one, I'm going to be like, tell them I moved out
well,
of the
my friend,
Listen, I can't do it. I can't
I
do it. So we all pick our poison.
my wife has a background in tax. That was the one class I absolutely refused to take in law school. I'm not taking tax. I wish I'd taken it now in retrospect, but at the time I was
Oh,
like, no, I'll take trial out and evidence. Much better for me.
it was funny because I just despise numbers so much. I pretended that area doesn't exist. And I remember in law school, I'm on the trial team and I'm like preparing for this big competition we have coming up. And I see this same girl in this workbook crunching numbers. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, we're on like a tax trial. We're going to go have a big tax court case. And I was like, that's a thing? What? And I thought you signed up for this on purpose and intentionally? Crazy to me. But again, we all have our thing that makes us tick that's just not mine at all.
I will tell you the last, I think it's 2 or 3 years, one of the coolest things I've done, and if they do it in your area, you should try it. My law school hosted like a national trial competition,
Yeah,
and I got to be a judge. So it's done in the Broward County Courthouse. So you get to sit on the bench, right?
love
And
that.
for 3 hours, you've got these two law schools with the law students litigating it. I think the one I did, the last one was a criminal case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was you and me was right in our wheelhouse, right? But you got
Mm-hmm.
to be the judge and you do, and that was a very, very cool experience. And I know if you've done trial work, you would absolutely love that. So if you get that opportunity, Sharon, I'm just putting it out there. You should definitely take it. It's so rewarding. These kids are so damn good. They're
Oh,
so good.
so here in Colorado, we have a lot of law schools and they do that and they normally come to our courthouses. So I have sat as trial for not my
Uh,
law school, for others. And it is, like you said, it's phenomenal. I love seeing how hard they prepare, how excited they are about the law and all of that. I always say I was a mega nerd in law school. I was the vice president all 3 years of law school. And one of the main things that I did was speak to the incoming class about, because everybody knows they want to go to law school, but nobody knows what they want to do. And I always told them the best way to decide what you want to do is to figure
correct.
out what you don't want to do. And so I told them go intern as many places as possible because you're going to be like, wow, that sounded cool, but I hated it so much. So then you can really narrow down the things that excite you. So yeah, I've sat as the judge before and I love to see how excited the kids are. And it's such a beautiful experience.
It is. I'm all right. I'm going to talk to you about trial work in a second, but I want to go back in time. I want to know what got you to go to law school. When did you decide I'm going to be a lawyer?
Okay. So you're going to make me age myself in front of all these people. Okay, Mark, I see how it is. So,
I,
no, when I was young, the OJ Simpson trial was on. And I've always been outspoken as a child. I always loved debating things, but I was watching that trial and I was so enamored. I was like, I have to do this. Like it fascinated me that people were standing up and advocating these things and picking apart, oh, this is absolutely this. And by the time the person was done crossing them on it, they were like, well, I thought that's what it was. I don't know. And I was like, this is so fascinating how you see somebody just literally pick somebody apart and take their confidence from them right in front of them without them even knowing it. And it was so fascinating to me. So as a young kid, I saw that and I never wavered. I said, I am going to go to law school because I want to do this. I want to be in a courtroom. And it was non-negotiable, even through law school, through everything. I didn't know what side I was going to be on in the courtroom, but I knew that I had to be in the courtroom.
okay, I love that. So when you watched OJ, did you say, so if I want to be the defense attorney or I want to be the prosecutor? What did you think?
I didn't know enough because I was younger, but I knew that like being in the courtroom and being in trial and being able to, again, it was more so watching how each side just ripped apart the witnesses that were so sure of themselves. And then by the time they were done, they didn't even really know what their name was. and they weren't even confident in that. And so I loved that. So I remember going through school and being in debate, and really, I always loved to pick the unpopular side to see how many people I could sway to change their opinion by the time class was over. And so that was my focal point. And it wasn't until law school where, again, I interned, go do everything so you can see what you don't want to do.
Who did
I
you
interned
intern with?
the district attorney is Riverside, district attorney is San Bernardino, and then a private firm that did a little bit of everything at the end. But being in the prosecutor's office was a huge wake up call that I absolutely did not want to do that side. So then it was like, okay, that I've found what I'm going to do and there's no looking back. So,
So, okay, I want to back up a second because, see, I also was an intern in 1993, not to age myself, but I was a student intern in 1993. I got to intern for about 6 months, which was a long internship, partly because the job I had lined up for the summer didn't work out. So I just tacked that on. And I did a dozen jury trials as a second year law student.
wow.
Um, but I will tell you, unlike you, Shannon, I did not have a passion for law school. In fact, I was ready to drop out after the second year because I was like, this sucks.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I knew 5 minutes into my very first real trial, I said, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what real lawyers do. They pick
Yes,
juries and they try cases.
man. I'm telling you,
That's what
I
I'm doing.
literally, I couldn't agree more. Trial is a type of rush that I tell people I've always been a nerd. I've never done any illegal substance, but the high that they must get from that, this has to be the closest I'll ever feel to it because it's so unbelievable. The rush, I played sports all through high school and college, and those butterflies and that rush that you get before the game starts, it's the same before any trial. It's the same
Isn't it?
before a big motions hearing. It's unbelievable. And I tell attorneys all the time, when you lose the butterflies, that's when it's time to hang up the shingle and go do something different. So it's amazing.
I'm the same way. I used to have butterflies. If I was doing, the jury selection, I'd get up and I'd have butterflies.
Yeah.
Or if I was an opening, I'd get up and I'd have a little butterflies. Well, right
Mm-hmm.
before for the very first direct. After that, I used to find I get into the zone. For
Zone.
me, I could feel the jury. A lot of the time I could pick the four-person during jury selection. I knew who it was going to be.
Listen,
So
there's nobody that feels a jury like a criminal defense attorney because you have two people that are hated in a courtroom. The first is your client, the second is you for sitting next to your client. So when I tell you somebody that feels a jury, I'm like, okay, we got ourselves a toughie here. So it's yeah, no, it's there's nothing better than a trial. It's really, if you love telling stories, a trial is really, we both have the same facts, we both have the same evidence. It really comes down to who tells the better story, who put enough time in to know every word in that story and get up and either pick it apart or jumble the pages so people are like, wait, what just happened, what page were we on? That really is what a trial comes down to.
I love it. Okay, so my understanding, your first job out of law school, you went and worked for a criminal defense firm. Is that right?
I did.
Okay, so tell me about that experience. When did they let you loose in the courtroom?
So it's one of my favorite, like how I got that job, because I went to law school in California and I just moved to Colorado the day after I graduated.
How'd that happen? Sorry, I know I didn't mean to
Oh, you're
interrupt, but
good. So I'm
how-
originally from Las Vegas and I
okay.
have a twin sister, and she moved to LA right after undergrad to pursue acting. And we had never been apart. So I only applied to law schools in California so that I could go and be near her. So I went to law school in California, and then I was like, this is not my jam to be out here. Like, I can't sit in 2 hours of traffic to go 10 miles to my job. Like, I'll lose my mind every day. So I didn't want to go back to Vegas. My dad is originally from Colorado, so I just moved here. We vacationed here. I think my face was painted orange and blue for the Denver Broncos before I could walk or talk. So I was like, hey, why not? It's a beautiful state. I moved here, didn't know a single person, and it was the best decision I ever made. Beautiful place, love it here. So
Where-
I didn't know anyone, so I had to send out all these cold resumes. In law school, my professors, they always used to say, if you want to make it as a lawyer, you have to know how to do one of two things: play golf or smoke cigars. I have no patience. So playing golf was out. Learning how to play golf during law school was out the window. So I learned how to smoke a cigar. So, funniest story ever. I get to my job interview and I'm waiting, and I see he has all these cigar aficionado magazines in the lobby. So I was like, I got this. Okay. So we sit down. I see he has my resume, and he's like kind of stuffy, and I could tell he's just like this stiff guy. So I was like, oh, I've got to break this ice soon. So he's about to ask his first question. So I said, before you ask me that question, do you actually smoke cigars? Or are you just trying to impress your clients and have those magazines out there? And he like was so caught off guard, and he slid my resume to the side and he goes, I smoke cigars. Do you smoke cigars? And I was like, yeah, that's why I asked you. And all of a sudden, we just bullshitted for the next, hour and a half. And we didn't even talk about law school, about anything. We just were two people having a conversation over cigars. And then I said, I don't know if you're going to offer me a job or not. And I said, just save it. Go home, smoke your best cigar, and call me tomorrow. And I got up and I walked out. I got in my car and I was like, you're an idiot. He was going to offer you the job. You should have just waited. And I beat myself up all night. He calls me the next day and he's, you sure you want a defense? Because if you do, the job is yours. And I was like, play cool. I'm like, I do. I'm in. And so that's how I got my first job for 5 years doing criminal defense at a private firm.
Okay. So your first jury trial, what kind of case was it?
So first misdemeanor was a boating under the influence. It was hilarious. The judge was like, I've never even done one of these trials. I didn't know we did these because it doesn't count.
I did a couple of them.
It's crazy because, in Colorado, any driving under the influence is a lifelong offense. So even if you had your first 30 years ago, it's going to count as a second, and then it'll count as a third. Boating doesn't. So the judge is like, why are we doing this? And it's because there was $50,000 requested as restitution. And so I'm like, we're going to go down swinging. If we're going to get that attached to us, we're going to go down swinging. And so my former boss, he's like sitting there next to me. And it was so much pressure because as a young lawyer, as you're listening to the question being asked, you're listening to the answer, you're anticipating an objection, you're anticipating what you're going to do, all of these things. And so my boss was sitting next to me and he's like, trying to like jump up because he would have objected. So I'm like, what am I missing? And finally I had to tell him, like, you have to go in the hallway. You're stressing me out so much. I can't even focus on this. Right. So I kicked him out of the courtroom so I could do that. And I won. And I got a not guilty. And it was like so much fun. And I was like, every criminal defense attorney should win their first trial because we're supposed to lose if, most of the time. And so I was like, to get your confidence, you should win. So that was the boating under the influence. I always called it the mad boater case from then on out. Loved that. But my first actual felony trial shortly after that was a sex assault on a child. Doesn't get any heavier, doesn't get any crazier. So it was like this little tiny case with no really repercussions, and then just jump right into a case where if you lose, your client goes to prison for the rest of his life. So that was a dramatic back-to-back for me on my first trials.
What happened to that case?
That case was what made me ultimately decide to open my own law firm, just because craziness that happened with it. But we get through, and we had an offer for this guy. This is a frustrating part of criminal. You can advise people like, this is in your best interest. Half of my job isn't just to get you the best deal, but it's to give you my advice of what you should do, what my opinion. I've seen everything under the sun. So, what I have to say about this, you should really listen. I had him an offer that would have given him probation, where he would have just been able to be with his family. But he was so dead set, I can't plead guilty to anything. My family would hate me. And I was like, yeah, well, if you lose and you go to prison for the rest of your life, your family will never see you. So it's a kind of a big gamble that you're taking there. And so the jury ultimately ended up finding him guilty on one charge, not guilty on the other, but one of the charges carried life. So I'll never forget. We're sitting there, they say guilty, and he literally turns to me, puts his hand on my arm, and he says, "What does that mean?" And I'm like, "It means exactly what we talked about. It means you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life." Having to tell another human that while they're looking you in the face is one of the heaviest. It's 15 years later, it hasn't gotten any easier, right? If that happens. And so I'll never forget, I got into my car and I cried the entire way back to the office. And then I parked at the office and I had to compose myself and I had to look myself in the mirror as I'm composing myself. And I'm like, you have other clients that need you and that you have their lives in your hand as well. And you need to go get to work on their cases. And so it was like, you just got to gain composure and just continue working. So that was just crazy because what we do, we're not fighting over money. We're not fighting over
What's
something that
everything?
back, right? It's liberty. You can't ever give someone their time back.
You know, since when I was prosecutor, I had a guy. We have a statute here in Florida called the Prison Release Reoffender Statute. It's like three strikes, you're out.
Yes.
And the charge was kidnapping, which was a life felony. And he the same. It was this. There'd been two prior cases with the same victim, and for whatever reason, she didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And so before trial, I was really worried if she would show up. And we'd been to depot with the defense lawyer, and she did not make a good witness. And I went to the chief, and I said, number one, I don't know if she's going to show. Harley, stop licking. I don't know if she's going to. Sorry, I have a sick dog down here, and she's.
Oh, you're all good.
I said, number one, I don't know if she's going to show, and if she does, I said she's going to make a terrible witness. I don't know if this guy's going to walk again. It'll be the third case. He said, here's the deal. How long's he been in custody? I said, he's been there 18 months. He said, offer him 5 years. He waives the time served, so he does the extra five. So we do what we
Mm-hmm.
need to do to protect the victim. I went to the defense lawyer and I said, look, man, it's a life felony. I said, it's 5 years, waives credit, good time. He's probably out in 3.5 or 4.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take it. And I got the conviction. And do you know something? Here's what's interesting about it. Just about 2 months ago, I got a letter in the mail from the guy. He's still in custody. Wanted to know if I would support a claim, for clemency. I said to my wife, if this guy ever got out, he'd show up at the house and blow my head off with a shotgun. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way I would support this.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what's interesting. There was a claim of ineffective because he said that nobody ever communicated the offer to him. Right? Long story short is it didn't go anywhere. The claim of ineffective was denied, but I had to testify in that hearing, and there was an appeal, and it was all denied. But so sometimes, right? Sometimes our clients don't listen to us.
Oh,
They
it's
don't listen.
it's so frustrating. I always say, stop doing felony math, right? So you want 8, they offer 6, and you say, we'll just go to trial, but the penalty is 82. The felony math isn't adding here. So you can't do, because the 2-year discrepancy, you're really going to do maybe 6 months out of that 2 years in real life. So for 6 months, you're going to gamble 82 years. The felony math doesn't add up. So sometimes people just get so stuck in their ways or so, but you also see a lot of clients that are institutionalized, right? They've been in the system so long, they forget how to live out of it. And so even though they are so vocal about not wanting to go back and so vocal about hating it, it's like everything they do is to intentionally go back or to keep themselves there. They got to be tough on the outside, but it's really in there. They have 3 meals a day. They don't have to think about how they're going to survive. They almost have street credit where people know their names. So they just prefer living in there despite what they're saying, like, oh, I hate it so much, get me out of here. I see it all the time with clients that have spent a tremendous amount of their life in the system.
Yeah, I think it becomes their status quo. They don't know any other different.
Absolutely.
Um, did you follow any of the Carmelo Anthony case?
I didn't. I
I
was out of
just
the
wanted.
country, but I did hear a lot of bad things about his attorney, so it makes me sad.
Yeah, I was actually asked to do Fox Live a couple of times. They asked me, and I told him, I said, I think there'll be a claim of ineffective. He didn't put his client on to testify.
Yeah.
There was no other evidence that would go towards the reasonableness of the self-defense claim, and he
Yeah.
took a knife to a fist fight. And of course, you have the whole jury selection issue. There were also, I think, there was a jury instruction that was denied. So maybe they get a new trial out of this. I don't know, but some very interesting issues.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second. I want to know because I think when we talked, you mentioned something about mental health and substance use.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of that in your practice?
When I tell you that 80, and that's That's being generous. 80% of cases, at least, the underlying issue is mental health and substance abuse. You don't see, for most of the time, every now and then you might have somebody who just was born with a bad bone in the body, if you will. But most of the time, you have somebody that's suffering from a mental health issue and they self medicate, or they've been using drugs so long in their life that they give themselves a disorder and they're almost like permanently in a state of psychosis. So it's so sad because, and luckily, at least in Colorado, they've started making these specialty courts, recovery courts, wellness court, mental health court, all of these things that focus on that underlying issue. Instead of looking at the person as a criminal, they look at it as somebody with this issue. Let's fix the issue so we never see the person again. But they're so intertwined, right? And they've started giving medics and stuff mental health training, because most of the time when you're responding to some crisis, it's somebody in a medical crisis or a mental health crisis, not somebody who is just doing something crazy and criminal behavior. There's someone going through an episode and they're going through something really serious. And so not addressing that and treating these people as criminals, we will see these people in the system forever. And that's actually how things that could be de-escalated so quickly become blown out of proportion and become these really big, scary things, because they just poured gasoline on a fire that was already flaming, but it was flaming because it was a mental health cry for help, not anything other than that. And then they made it something it didn't have to be. So in the criminal world, unfortunately, it is so intertwined with mental health and substance abuse issues.
Okay, so how do you deal with that? You got a client charged with a serious felony. How do you address that? I mean, maybe they don't even qualify for any of these diversionary courts because of the nature of the charge.
Yep. And so the very first thing that I do, I sit down with them, and you can learn a lot from somebody by just sitting down and listening. So many times in life, we sit down with someone right away and we're giving an unsolicited opinion. We're doing more talking than we're listening. We're telling them what's wrong with them. We're telling them the issues in a case. We're telling them, we're talking. I sit down with my clients when I very first meet them and I just listen. And it is very rare, outside of a tell me more about that, or you said this earlier, so can I hear some more about that? All I'm doing is listening. I will be able to tell, are you rocking back and forth and rubbing on your thighs? Yeah, you're probably on the spectrum for autism. Are you doing some things that I can see as natural tics for mental health that I've just picked up in the last 15 years of working? I do a lot of mental health and substance abuse work. So all of these things, the more I listen, the more I am just taking note of evaluations that I'm going to have done on them, or doctors that I'm going to have them meet with, or psychologists or psychiatrists that I'm going to have evaluate them. And so I learn a lot in that first meeting, and then I have them meet with my specialty teams. And then we can actually put together a mitigation packet that explains to the DA, I get it. I get why you're concerned. I'd be concerned too. Let me explain how we got here. Most of the time, people are just trying to get to the finish line of a case, but by telling them how we got here and the best route to achieve what both of us want, to never see this person again. Both of us want this person to act differently, behave differently, and be a productive member of society. So I've come up with a plan that serves both of our end goal, and it's a far better than just throw them in a prison cell. I always tell an analogy I use with the court all the time. If we have a school bus full of kids and a wheel falls off and the school bus crashes and it hurts a bunch of kids, we would never just put that school bus in a garage, not fix the wheel, wait 5 years, pull it out with the same wonky wheel, load it full of students again, and hope for a different outcome. No, we would be a fool, and we could not be surprised when it crashes and hurts everyone again. We have to take that bus, we got to take it to the shop, and we got to fix the wheel. And then load it as full as you want, because we fixed the issue, so we don't have to worry about it when it's out on the streets, when it's out in society. So taking a human that has mental health issues, has substance abuse issues, and throwing them in a cage for 4 or 5 years or whatever length of time, and releasing them and expecting them to be different is shame on us because we've fixed and changed nothing.
Interesting. Interesting. It's interesting. I have somebody I might want to connect you with. His specialty is finding treatment. He helps criminal defense lawyers mitigate the damage when there's a behavioral health issue. I'll connect you with him. He's based in California, but he could be a great resource for you.
I love it. Thank you.
Um, you said to me something that really resonated with me, which is that you never get rid of the nerves. When a jury when you hear there's a verdict and the jury first walks into the courtroom and you haven't heard the verdict, tell me what that feels like.
So first, I have my verdict.
Flashbacks. That's what I have to talk to you about.
Drama. Oh, no, I'm so funny in trial because you get in such a trial mode. Just like you said, it's the zone, right? The butterflies go away. The second that the jury is seated and the judge says, all right, openings, I'm locked in the zone, right? But during trials, I don't eat lunch. I just have to focus. I don't listen to music on the drive in, anything like that. I'm just like so hyper focused. But when the jury goes and they're deliberating, some people go and they grab lunch, grab coffee, wait, and, we all have to give our cell phones. Not me. I'm in the courthouse and I got my pace. Everyone will know, like, oh, Shannon's in trial because they see me doing my pace. I just got to move. I got to move and I got to wait and I'm just so, and I tell you, when they say, like, we have a verdict, going in, it's almost like your chest is tight, your heart is beating, but it's not really. It's like slowly, and everything is kind of still, and you're just waiting. The judge is going to ask, okay, do we have a 4-person? Yes. Okay, 4-person, have you reached a unanimous verdict? We have. What is it? And you're just like looking, and I can always tell if the jurors walk in and they make eye contact with me, we've got a shot. We've got a shot. If the jurors walk in and no one wants to look at me, I'm like, all right, I need you to hold on to me because you're going to faint. Like, we're not going to like what's going to come out of their mouth, right? So you get these little cues from the jury. But yeah, if nobody can look at me, I'm like, we fought the good fight, guys. It didn't go our way. But yeah, I'm telling you, I always say the two worst parts, right? First is when you hear, we have a verdict. And then second, when the judge asks, okay, what is it? It just is the double whammy that just gets the suspense from you. So yeah, it's crazy.
Do you think you can look back and see maybe one moment where you're like, that was a really satisfying moment for me? Is there sort of a highlight in your head that you can think about?
There's several. It's such a rewarding job. I know people ask me all the time, how do you do criminal law? Or criminal defense, if you will, because there's some cases that are really tough. And I'm like, I get it, there are, but everyone deserves a voice. Everyone deserves somebody to sit and fight for them. And I'll never forget, there's a case that always stands out. There's this young man, and he'd never been in trouble before, and he was charged with attempted murder. So he was facing up to 48 years, and he was in custody. And he had just had a child. He just had a son. And his partner was like, couldn't believe this. Like, how is he in for this? And when I would meet with this young man in custody, I'm like, there is no way this happened. And my team, we worked on this case day and night. We analyzed everything. We worked relentlessly on this. And normally on cases of this gravity, if you can't get a resolution, it's just going to trial, right? And this one it's a dismissal or trial. And normally there's no way they're going to dismiss that. So you're going to trial, and then that's still such a gamble because you're asking 12 strangers. You're putting his life in the hands of 12 strangers, right? So we worked night and day on this case, and I'll never forget. I had to go to the apartment complex where it was, and it was in such a terrible neighborhood. And I'm there with my investigator, and we're walking up, and all of a sudden there's a shootout. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So police are always in that area because it's a bad area. So luckily the police pull up. So I just run to the police car because I'm like, no one's shooting at the police car. So I know I'm safe. Like, let me dive into this police car, right? And the police officer is like, why are you here? And I'm like, oh, just investigating the scene. I'm like, how long do you think you're going to be? I need to get over there. And he's looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy, right? But I had to get these like I had to measure some things and I needed pictures. So it was like really, so he was like, lady, you are so crazy, but like, we're going to be over here. So go ahead over there. So I'm there during the shootout, during all this stuff, but I get what I needed. And I was able to do this presentation to the district attorney's office where they actually dismissed the case prior to trial and sealed this kid's record. And it was so amazing. A couple months after that, I'm going Cherry Creek in Denver, Colorado is like a really nice area. It has a bunch of shops and restaurants and everything. That's where my firm is. And I'm having lunch at this really nice restaurant. And the person that I'm having lunch with is like, I think that person is trying to get your attention. And I'm like, what? And I look, it has like the open kitchen concept where you can see the chefs and all this. And the chef is like flagging me down, waving. And I look over and it's my client. And he like runs from the back where he's cooking and he just gives me the biggest hug. And he's like, all this is because of you. Like, you believed in me. You didn't give up on me. Like, you saved my life. And now he was the lead cook at this prestigious restaurant in this great area. And it like, man, it was just a moment that I'll never forget. Like, I have his dismissal of his case like laminated in my office, but it was just like so amazing. Like, these are humans, and sometimes humans put themselves in an area where they wrong place, wrong time, or just areas they shouldn't be. And if you don't just listen to them, if you don't care about every case as it's the most important case, people like that could slip through the cracks, right? If you force them to take a deal when they shouldn't have, and just not giving up on this kid changed his whole life. And now he's given his whole family a better life and moved out of the bad area and all that. So it was such a beautiful moment for me. And it's, man, for every bad day I have, I'm going to remember this day. And it's why I do what I do.
Sounds like you did a hell of a job for him.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. That doesn't happen by accident. Do you only practice in Colorado?
I'm also licensed in Oregon.
Okay. So for
Mhm.
folks that want to really kick ass criminal defense, like us, I can tell that you are, I don't know, if I was prosecutor, I think you would have given me one hell of a run for my money and then some. So for folks that want a really kick ass criminal defense lawyer, Shannon is your lawyer. How do they get a hold of you? How do
You
they
can
get
go
in
to my website, www.roydefense.com. It has my cell phone, it has everything. Reach out. Let's talk about what you got going on. And I don't care if you're guilty, not guilty, or in between. I'm your girl.
I love that. And I'm really grateful that you came on. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit.
Mark, is my
Um,
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
you're welcome. And for the folks that want to learn more about what we do, lawfirm.com, mental health addiction lawfirm.com, or just Google me. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube, and it's all information about what we do, and it's all free. So download it. And with that said, thanks for tuning in. Thank you to Shannon for being a guest. Don't go anywhere, Shannon. And we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.